I first and foremost want to thank my dear friend Ali Sabanci, our host this morning, for your extraordinary graciousness and generosity in pulling together this extraordinary event on behalf of all the international community. Thank you for having us. And I want to also, if I can, thank the team of organizations that came together as the organizing committee, well led by Ali Sabanci, which included not just Endeavor, but Habitat, Tim, Tob, Coach, and Sabanci. And we really appreciate all of the support of the partners and the organizations that came together to host this event. And I say that to you on behalf of all the delegations from the 172 countries that are now here for this week. I also want to have a special thank you to my dear longtime friend, Didem. To all of my colleagues from around the world, you know when an event like this happens, there is a person that leads a team at the center of the effort, and Didem has been working on this day and night. And if you haven't had the opportunity yet to go up to Didem and to thank her, I ask all of my colleagues from around the world to do that. So Didem, thank you so much. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is a very, very important event for us. Global Entrepreneurship Week began 10 years ago. And so in many respects, this is the 10th birthday of this community. And it is naturally the 10th Global Entrepreneurship Congress. And it has been an extraordinary journey. For the last 10 years, communities have built upon each other, and we've created a connectedness in a world that's sometimes been divided. And over the course of those 10 years, we have gone from a small 50-person gathering in a room to now a global entrepreneurship network of 10 million people. But most importantly, we are now a community that has built 10 years of trust. And in such a divided world, we believe that trust is incredibly important. It's important for all aspects of our lives on the planet, but of course it's especially important as we work together on a path of entrepreneurship. We began this journey with the notion that with so many jobs coming from firms under 5 years old, it was important for us to focus the world's debate on how do we figure out new and better ways of increasing rates of new firm formation. And this is the task that we set out to achieve, and it's the task that we're beginning to be able to accomplish. But this community is underway in a very different fashion. It's not just entrepreneurs, it's not just investors. It's a gathering of the research community, ministers and their staff and policymakers. It's a gathering of all the entrepreneurial support organizations around the world that are striving hard, whether as accelerators or entrepreneurial education programs, to be able to make the path easier for anyone, anywhere on the planet, to be able to start or scale a firm. So this morning, we wanted to welcome you to what is a very rich and also very diverse array of conversations, activities, and initiatives that will occur throughout this Congress. You all have your program in front of you, but I want to point out it's not just the quantity of international speakers, it's just not the quantity of sessions that are occurring over the next 3 days. It's the fact that you get to touch and feel every dimension of what it means to be one global entrepreneurial ecosystem. And we've tried to design the Congress both for the people of Turkey as well as the people of the nations around the world that have come, to allow us to collaborate, to listen to each other, and to find new ways that we can be able to help our entrepreneurs when we leave at the end of this week. So we hope that you'll learn plenty. We hope that you'll build new friendships and new partnerships. But I ask each and every one of you that we also hope on behalf of Jen that you'll walk away with a new vision, not just for your local community, but a new vision for your nation. The work of figuring out how to build a healthy entrepreneurial ecosystem is a relatively new field. And we are learning many, many new things. And over the last couple of years, there's been an extraordinary blossoming of attention into how do we do this more effectively. There's been a great deal more attention to how do we collect better data, how do we understand the interventions to make that work, and how do we involve more people in that task. And so I hope when you look at the schedule that you have before you, you see all new dimensions of how to do this, whether it's connecting with other ecosystems around the world, whether it's figuring out with the Global Business Angels Network, how do we figure out new ways of building new early stage capital financing, whether it's the Global Entrepreneurship Research Network that's looking at how do funders of entrepreneurship research come together and build new collaborative projects that are bigger than the sum of the parts. Or whether it's the ministerial that was on Sunday and the work that will ensue over the course of the next 2 to 3 days on figuring out smarter ways for government to help entrepreneurs and those that are helping them too. This is a remarkable new period for entrepreneurs who 10 years ago, when we began, the most common refrain we had from entrepreneurs about government was, could you ask government to stay out of the way? It's a new world. Government and entrepreneurs are now connected symbiotically. Entrepreneurs need government and government needs entrepreneurs. And the reason for that is because almost every industry on the planet is going through a rapid transformation and disrupting their business models. And those industries are usually semi or fully regulated industries. And if you're an entrepreneur and you want to enter into those fields, whether you're disrupting those business models or otherwise, you cannot do it except in partnership with the public sector, whether at the local, state, or at the national level. And so we are working very hard throughout this week to integrate government in a new way, not just with the ministerial, but in ways that we can include the public sector in a constructive conversation and task ahead. And for example, we're doing policy hacks, we're doing a variety of other collaborative tools so that government and entrepreneurs and the entrepreneurial support organizations are a partnership in figuring out how do we deal with these regulatory hurdles that are arising in these new industries. And there are many, many other sessions, whether or not it's for our Gen Starters community, who are the entrepreneurs that emerge through these competitions, and come here to be able to form a peer network of entrepreneurs that are succeeding across the world who recognize that they can be stronger if they're able to be a collaborative group at the global level. Or whether or not it's new programs like Startup Huddle, one of our most exciting new rollouts coming up this year. I hope you'll consider participating in the global, the first global demonstration of Startup Huddle, an effort where we invite communities across the world once a week to come together for a cup of coffee and to be able to help one entrepreneur and build community at the same time. So there's a great deal before us this week. There's far too much to mention. There's an awfully, shall I say, full schedule for you too. So what we'd like to do is just from a procedural perspective to point out that all the sessions will start on time. So if some of us go over, I'm watching the clock, we need to remember with some of our sessions that we will be completing them on time. So if you're confused and you know one of the sessions got delayed, do know that the one following it will begin on time. I was asked to point that out because otherwise we have a full day before us. But I hope that you will also remember that as a result of the great generosity of our hosts, we will also be filming all the sessions. and in due course making those available online. So if there's a lot of conflicts there and you say, I wish I could do this one and that one, I really hope that you will recognize that you'll be able to capture some of that content afterwards online. So I today would like to welcome the global entrepreneurship community to the Global Entrepreneurship Congress. I would like to thank all of our local hosts for this extraordinary opportunity to be here in Istanbul and in Turkey. You obviously have an extraordinarily interesting and beautiful country that symbolically, for those of us, sits appropriately atop East and West. This really is, on my map, the center of the world. And we think a very appropriate place for us to gather in our efforts to figure out how do we help entrepreneurs across the world be a path for peace and stability and economic growth. Thank you very much. Welcome. And we wish you a very productive and enjoyable time here in Turkey and a very, very useful experience that you can take home with you at the end of the week. Thank you very much.